Oh, the police is certainly ready for the 2020 presidential parliamentary election. I'm not sure about the reduce your sexual rounds, though.
I don't know whether they are ready. It's all dependent on whether or not they reduce their sexual rounds. That's the caveat. I mean, I guess that explains why ECHO is very, very strong.
Oh, but I thought that helped, like, doesn't that rather help?
I don't know.
The footballers...
I don't know. I'm not a policeman. I haven't done
but you're a
work.
man.
Yes, but this is coming from the police. He's leading men, and he knows what their problem is. So I will go with him.
Charlie, police, we beg you. The order is that reduce the sexual rounds. We need you to be very effective during. In fact, it's before, during, and after. So it begins now. Who will be monitoring?
Did you see the reaction of the men when he said that? They quickly went down and they were,
All right, Joseph, you were missing yesterday, obviously, because of the holiday.
Yeah, I was celebrating Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day. It's an important day, so...
We had some lovely viewers join us via phone around just about this time, maybe, sharing their Nkrumah memories with us. And we had somebody who called, I think, Uncle Jacob, yes, who said he was 6 at the time. And he remembers the order to go and burn anything with Nkrumah's image on it, books and pictures. And he regrets now because he knows what those books, pictures could have done today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whilst you were celebrating, what did you say? Were you reflecting? Or?
I was celebrating. I mean, I was at home. I wrote an article for my Joy Online. I also...
Oh, I haven't read that.
Yeah, it talks about Nkrumah's actual date of birth. His actual date of birth is not September.
It's not the 21st of September.
No. He also didn't believe he was born in 1909. At a point, he thought he was born in 1912. But he kept to the 21st September because 21st September 1909 is actually not a Saturday. And he says one thing that he was sure of was that he was a Saturday born. Okay. But his mom said he was born in mid-September. And so he wasn't too sure. So he thinks it should be 18th September sometime in 1912, perhaps. But he kept to the 21st September because that's what the priest who baptized him wrote as his date of birth. So he kept that throughout his life on official documents. Okay. But the thing is, it was in September. Yes, it was. It was a certain year in September. A certain year in September, yeah. That's nice. Good history. Let's concentrate on the newspapers now. Yesterday we had just 3, but today they're all working again. The Daily Dispatch, the Graphic, the Finder, and the Business and Financial Times, as well as the Economy Times. I think these are the papers that we're concentrating on. So let's start with the Daily Dispatch, front page of the Dispatch. 5 of the key issues driving December 7 elections. The Daily Dispatch is highlighting on these 5 key issues in today's edition of the paper. I'll try and see if I can highlight on a few. For us, they say infrastructure, education, accommodation, economy and transport. I guess these are the 5. Also, text of Akufo-Addo's speech, nurses and midwives start nationwide strike. The Catholic Church on the Catholic priest who is now a judge. Very revealing, I guess, for those of us who otherwise just thought that once you're a Catholic priest, yours is just the church. Actually know of one who taught me, who's a lecturer. Yeah, great men of God who do great work in the church and also outside the church. And such people are actually very loaded because they have a lot to share, a lot of experiences. So it's a Catholic priest who has been appointed as Justice of the High Court will no more perform his priestly duties in public. The Catholic Church has explained. The Catholic Church has told state-owned Daily Graphic in an interview that Reverend Father Joseph Owusu-Agyeman can only celebrate sacraments privately. Chancellor of the Kumasi Archdiocese of the Church, Reverend Father Peter Sapon, told the newspaper that apart from political appointments, the Church did not stop its priests from serving offices, including serving as lecturers to the security doctors, among others. I guess for me, what I pick from it, the fact that he has a lot of experiences in the church, he brings that, to where he is now as a high court judge, and that's what we should be celebrating, really, not the fact that he won't be able to do his priestly duties, but he's picking some great experiences from there
onto where he's going now. It's really good. We need such men from across, not just academia, into places like the bench. All right, let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page of the Daily Graphic. IMF reviews Ghana's growth forecast. Be circumspect in reportage. Kumasi MCE tells media as country goes to the polls. GES recruits 16,500 trained teachers. The Ghana Education Service has begun the process to recruit 16,500 trained teachers who completed the colleges of education last year. Earlier this year, the GES recruited 1,500 teachers in a special mop-up exercise for trained teachers who completed their studies in the 2017-2018 academic year but could not be recruited because they had challenges with their papers. You can read more of the story in the Daily Graphic. Quickly to the center spread. CPP commemorates Nkrumah Memorial Day with wreath laying. That story is in the center spread. There's a photograph with Ivor Kobna Green Street with some members of the CPP in front of Nkrumah's statue, and you can read the rest of it in the center spread. Also, Ministry of Health to introduce wellness program. Let's sustain peace ahead of December elections, according to stakeholders at the National Summit. They emphasize the need to sustain the prevailing peace in the country ahead of the December 7, 2020 polls. On the back page, government urged to develop share value chain, and concrete road in Tema Industrial Zone 85% complete. Let's do the Finder. Front page of the Finder. Dismissed case of CSOs against government over Tiwa forests. AG is making a strong case. I've seen this in, I think, more than 2 of the papers. Ghana develops pruner cum harvester for cocoa farmers, and Mahama presided over the mess. Nana Komia says MPP inherited 418 financial institutions on the verge of collapse. Laid off GC Net staff demand outstanding salaries and severance package. Let's build united, prosperous, stable, secure ECOWAS. President Akufo-Addo as he paid a visit to the commission in Abuja. Okay, Akable?
We can do the front page of the Daily Guide now. It has the story from Abuja. President visits ECOWAS head office. And Mahama Zongo Mortuaries Park debate also on the front page.
Mahama Zongo Mortuaries?
Yes. He had an interview where he said they'll be building some mortuaries for the Zongos. And this morning I was listening to a gentleman at the our car park. He was drawing a correlation between the pledge to build mortuaries and the pledge to legalize Okada. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, so that is it for the front page.
Some people can be very mischievous.
Yeah, but that was his own analysis. I'm not too sure that analysis is sanctioned by the NDC. But MPP replies NDC on Ashanti neglect, and NDC begs for crowd to welcome Nana. Also on the front page, government releases 3.56 billion to pay rest of depositors. The back page has this story about CAF chief, others mourn quotes accident victims. And yesterday I saw a story on my JoyOnline.com about the executive committee of the Ghana Football Association deciding that their salary for, I think, September, they will be giving it to the victims. And I understand the figure comes up to some 59,000 cedis also.
Okay.
Yeah, very unfortunate incident there. The road crash is still robbing the nation of people who would have played various roles. Absolutely. Going forward.
And a lot of footballers can relate because people go through all sorts of things to become the footballers, the world-class footballers that we see today.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what is most heartbreaking, because these young people just wanted to realize their dreams, and they started from the very bottom, fighting all through. Just lost their lives in this. I mean, it's a reminder
accident. Of why we must take steps to minimize all forms of carnage, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's accidents, whether it is simple headache or whatever form of disease it is. I mean, because you don't know the talents that we are losing.
Absolutely.
This could have been the next Tariq Lamptey, whom we are chasing from in England. It could have been the next Messi. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing with the other accident victims who could have been presidents, ministers, the people who change the nation in ways that we all want it to be changed. And so, I mean,
Talking about football, though, was it Borussia Dortmund? I saw a
tweet
Twitter
about Nkrumah
post,
Memorial
about
Day.
the Nkrumah Memorial Day. If you haven't seen it, I'm just going to look for it. We'll try and put it on the screen. I felt really, really proud.
Yeah, I mean, they know the world history quite well, and they know Ghanaian history too, and they know who the Osajifo is.
Yeah.
But on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, while you pull up that tweet for us, patients stranded, hospitals deserted as nurses, midwives lay down tools. That is on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. I have a relative who is a doctor who was telling me yesterday that, I mean, he was explaining to me how crucial the nurses are and saying that if they are not there, they are better off just closing down the hospitals.
Absolutely. Who is going to prepare the patients?
No one. It means they just have to either walk in, which becomes too much work for them, and just stresses them out. I mean, quite unfortunate. Let's
look at the Borussia Dortmund tweets, the happy hashtag Nkrumah Memorial Day to all our friends and family in Ghana. Yeah, this was it. Ah, yeah, it's good to be recognized. Even by others that you least expected, they would notice you.
Yeah.
Get what I mean?
Yeah.
Nkrumah is such a big figure in our country. And people everywhere are absolutely proud of our first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Okay.
Still on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, we will deal with police personnel who indulge in partisan politics. Is coming from the Inspector General of Police. And President pays visit to offices of ECOWAS Commission in Abuja, also on the front page. The back page of the Ghanaian Times has a lot of donation stories and disinfection stories there. So I can move to the Daily Statesman. That will be the last one for me this morning. Nana B enumerates NPP's achievements in Ashanti region and what you need to know about the senior high school placement system. And Akufo-Addo is a caring leader, NPP Lord's president for protecting funds of 4.6 million Ghanaians. And we need a more united ECOWAS, is coming from the chairman, our own Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The back page of the Statesman has this story about Liverpool beating Chelsea over the weekend.
Please say it again.
Liverpool beat Chelsea.
Nice.
Yeah. But the paper insists the fact that it was a 10-man Chelsea.
Oh, Massa, who cares?
Ronaldo helps Pelo start with win as Juve boss, also on the back page of the Daily Statesman. I'm sure Rico will come with all those details for us. Any stories of interest for you?
Yeah. You know, you mentioned the mortuary story, and I just realized that we've got the National Enquirer newspaper. Okay. And it says, ahead of the December elections, NDC devises new strategy, one lawyer, one coalition center, as it debunks Zonko mortuary claims. Okay. Just trying to catch details of it. Maybe I may have to do it later. But it looks like the mortuary is not true.
It's actually true. I read a statement from the office of the former president, and the clarification they put across was the story that had been couched created the impression that that is the only pledge the president is making for the Zongo communities. And so he explained that he had listed a series of measures that they intend to roll out for the Zongo communities, and this was a point that he was just making about the demands that had been made when he visited those areas. So it's not the case that that is the only pledge that they had made to the Zongo communities. And so if that impression is being created, and that impression is not accurate. Okay,
so the version in this paper also says that a spokesperson of Mr. Mahama, James Ajeni Boateng, is clarifying the reports put out. And he says that Mr. Mahama was only acknowledging concerns about how traditional mortuaries handle the loved ones of Muslims when they pass on. Here's a quote. Mr. Mahama quoted the specific section of the People's Manifesto which addressing the issue and aims at... and the print is faded, so I can't see everything clearly. But, you know, you might want to try your eyes at it, maybe, and grab the paper and read. But you say that it's not just that.
Yes, I saw the statement.
Part of many other promises he made targeting at the Zongo communities.
Yes, they had a plan for the Zongo communities, and he was explaining that this was one issue that had come up in the course of the compiling the People's Manifesto, and so it's something that they'll be doing. But he says the story that was created the impression that that is the pledge, or that is what the NDC intends to do for the Zongo community, just that, and that is what he said was inaccurate, which they wanted to correct.
Okay. All right. And there's also another story in the paper that was picked from the lockdown with MFR Power. It says founder of Perez Chapel International, Bishop Charles Ajinasari, has urged the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, to remain neutral in the performance of her duties in the upcoming December polls. According to him, the unique nature of this year's elections demands that she remains exceptionally neutral and unbiased throughout the electoral process to prevent the country from sinking into chaos. You can read more on that as well. The BNFT, maybe the final one, agriculture withstands pandemic shock to record growth. Industry services contracts. Economists calls for inclusive policies to sustain growth. And then the Ghana Revenue Authority has said it is taking steps to address the recent brouhaha and accusations regarding under-declaring of taxes among telecommunications companies in the country, saying it is working on forwarding letters to them in the move to retrieve the lost monies. Other stories in the paper as well. Anything that you want to...
Yes, there's this story on page 14 of the Daily Guide. It's a story that, we told here on JoyNews about this young man who put together this car.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he's quoted as saying that people thought I was going mad. Yeah, the BEC student who assembled a car from scrap has said neighbors thought he was going mad when he set out on his journey to build his car. According to him, he didn't have money to buy all parts of the car, so he went searching for scraps everywhere, including refuse dumps. So as a result, people thought he was going mad because he was moving from place to place to pick parts from the floor whilst looking untidy. And so, this is, I was impressed when I saw it. He just completed the junior high school.
He actually drove the car to write his exam.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Yeah. And I see what he's saying, like people thought he was mad. That's how we see it.
Yeah.
Once we see you go into a place that we find not clean, we just assume that you are not correct.
Yeah, so that is the car on your screens there.
Meanwhile, he's been totally innovative.
And that's the point. The fact that he built it from scrap, and so that tells you what he could do if he has access to the things he actually needs.
Yeah.
And so these are things that don't actually have any use, and he's been able to assemble it in this manner.
We've got the assembly plants in Ghana now, the VW and yeah. So we should let him first of all spend a bit of time there and see how they also do it. This is a great talent.
Shouldn't just throw him in the pool of going into senior.
And we shouldn't just be acknowledging him and be mentioning that he's done this. We should take it a step further. See, you do these things so that you can get the recognition. It's not just the fame, but you want to be seen and helped. That's it, like next level.
Yeah.
That's what we should be doing. I would sit here and somebody would just come and take him away from
I think
our
I prefer
country.
this car to your car, Mavi.
Oh, that's fine.
I hope you're not upset.
No, I'm not. No.
It's a nice car.
You're free to choose. All right. Any other stories, Joseph?
Cinemas, nightclubs, beaches still closed.
Yes.
Coming from President Akufo-Addo. And
but does it feel that these centers are even closed?
The cinemas are closed, that I know. The nightclubs, some of them are hiding behind the open air. Some time ago they opened up the open air pubs.
Which is the
ones that don't have roofs. So a lot of them, some that have roofs, they are pretending to
be open.
And so
I think we were not patronizing the cinemas that much even before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I haven't heard people complaining, as in those who patronize.
Because then it's not an activity that you have a lot of people going there. But I actually think, if we are opening the stadiums to 25% capacity, said October 30, I think we should get to that point, because the cinemas too, they are huge spaces, you can space out people.
But we still have to be cautious, especially because there's a second wave in many of the other countries.
Fair point.
Ours is not like that, but it doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet. So we just have to be cautious. I know there are people even thinking that with the football, why do we even have spectators at all? Why don't we just do what we've seen with the Premier League, the English Premier League, for instance?
When I heard the president, I quickly understood why. It's financial reasons. Our league, our clubs thrive on the attendance at stadiums. And with the cost of this whole testing regime that they are rolling out, I mean, if there is no means of ensuring some form of income. In fact, even with 100% attendance, some of the clubs were not recording 25% attendance. True. Actually.
True.
The only clubs that were doing well has to do with Kotoko and Hearts of Oak. So if you are fortunate, you are playing Kotoko, you can, I mean, get in your stadium filled. If you are fortunate, you are playing Hearts of Oak, you can get your stadium filled. Even Hearts of Oak in Accra.
Oh, how about the Legon one?
The Legon cities, they were also doing quite well. I mean, so, I mean, it's a way of raising a bit of money for it, but I mean, it's a fair point to make that and that's, I think that was also a key aspect of the president's message, warning that, I mean, even though our active case count is less than 1,000, we're around 500 and something now, it's important for us to continue wearing a mask, wash your hands regularly. Some of you have stopped washing your hands, and I was even, I saw some vehicles in town over the weekend. I mean, they're trotro as usual.
Yes, that's very common now. I think it is rather strange when you see people wearing the mask.
Yeah, because they are isolated, they are the odd ones out there. But I mean, COVID-19 is still around.
I don't know if it has occurred to you before, there are times that you want to step in the place and you pick your mask from your car and you realize that there's nobody else wearing the mask around. So you're thinking, should I wear it or not? Would I look like I am being too known?
It happened to me on Friday, actually. One of these open air clubs, I stopped by to buy some food in the evening. When I walked in, someone walked to me and told me to take off my mask. Yes, they were all not in masks. He said, cover the co. I just looked at him strangely and I said, oh, okay, that's fine. I just walked in and I moved
I think what is also interesting is that have you heard the police arresting people for not wearing the mask?
The enforcement is on a decline now.
Because the president re-emphasized that aspect of that legislation.
In fact, he says, so until December 14, 2020, the wearing of masks remained mandatory. And he made a point that the law enforcement agencies will continue to enforce that particular law. But I mean, clearly it's not being enforced as aggressively as it was some time back. I mean,
absolutely. Feels like there's no COVID around. There are a lot of people with that belief, by the way, and totally not concerned about even the figures, what we're recording, as even though we're recording little compared to what's happening in other places, or even the kind of fear and caution when we started recording cases in Ghana. People simply don't care. Let's do myjoyonline.com. See what's happening on our page, myjoyonline.com, on this day, Joseph.
So it has patients stranded at hospitals nationwide as health workers strike bites. Reduce your sexual rounds. Please advise to save energy for election security.
Charlie, we should be more. If you know a policeman, please be monitoring. If you live with a policeman, because we need them to do a good job for us in the elections. They've been asked to reduce their sexual drive. So
yeah.
If you know a policeman or a policewoman.
Well, that story about Memorial Day special, Nkrumah's actual birthday and other interesting facts.
That's also your article?
Yes, you can find it on myjoyonline.com.
I'm going to read it.
Yeah. It talks about whether he likes food or not. It also talks about his views on homosexuals and other interesting facts.
Okay.
So you can find
I listened to Samia. Samia shared with another person. I think you shared that post where she appeared on the BBC on their program, The Conversation, and she was talking about how she even learned things about her father reading books because she was so little. The man was absolutely so busy, and so she had to learn who her father was from reading his books and learning from the people who worked with him. Yeah.
She lost out on her father so that all of us could have him and talk about him later on.
Yes. Yeah.
And still some more stories. Ashaman MP accuses EC of gross dishonesty after claiming 21,000 names were omitted from voters' register. And CPP shall return to rescue Ghana from NDC, and MPP is coming from Ivor Green Street.
They shall. Indeed.
Yes. Kwame Nkrumah is an iconic figure worth celebrating. It's coming from the NDC's Mahama. And Mali Junta picks former defense minister as transitional president. That is interesting.
You know, they insisted on a military leader leading the transition team.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that, you know, because you needed to compromise.
Well, but a former defense minister, I mean, it begs the question that the defense minister the defense ministry oversees the military. And so the question will not help but ask.
But is he a military person?
He's not a military person now. But the question is, The one who asked the question that, I mean, has he worked closely with this man before? Obviously, yes. Was he in some form of alliance with them, even proud to?
Is he a civilian?
Yes, he says so. He meets the bill as was set out by ECOWAS.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's a fair question to still ask. I mean, you never know who to trust in such circumstances. But this last story has to do with patients at Sandema Hospital left to their fate also on the front page. And this morning
because of the strike.
Yes, we brought the story. The registered nurses are saying they are still going ahead with the strike.
Because they have not been served.
Yes, that's what they say. And I heard the Labour Commission say that they are evading service and that they are called them to try and serve them, including their secretary, who said that they have been instructed not to receive it. And I've heard others also make the point that they are striking when the iron is hot.
That's it.
It's closer to election, so there's a time that you
need it to buy. You need to. But I've also heard about the posturing, you know, in the negotiation table, and how the employer is not either being, what's the word to use, taking on a certain posture that's not giving them enough confidence.
More like an entrenched position and not being open to
something like that. I mean, yeah, but this is a very critical moment because they have a good point. Listen, they say that things that they negotiated 4 years ago, nothing happened, and then, you know, they've had to work hard to this point. They are still negotiating. I mean, something must give, and this is but I have issues with. Well, so Labour Commission went to court on Friday to stop the action, but did they see this coming? You know, we have to be more proactive and try and resolve the issues instead of wait and drag and let them get to the point where they say we've laid down our tools and then we think that we can go to court and secure an action to stop them from embarking on what they have called. It's not good enough. You know, we all have to be, you have to be fair with them. You know? And
when people get frustrated and they are not being heard for so long, I mean, we spoke to the registered nurse, the president. He says they are just trying to intimidate us and they are going ahead. They don't care about any contempt or anything. I mean, you can understand the pain and the frustration. We need to get to the point where always when workers are making demands, they just rubbish them and keep telling them, oh, we are working on it, we are working on it, we are working on it. And then when they go on strike, you hear people criticizing them as if they are the ones who are to blame. But I mean, if someone had listened to them, we wouldn't have gotten to where we have gotten.
Absolutely. Over 80,000 of them, by the way. This is across the country. You can't joke with that. We've got sports. We will talk about this matter as well with the nurses, assistant physicians, and there are other related groups who are embarking on this action. Oreku is up next with sports.